Good morning. Glad you could join us. Do you have a pretty good idea of what God has called you to do? I actually do. Now, I know some people are like, not so sure. One of the things that I've discovered, especially going on mission trips, is that sometimes I think people think I'm going to try to put square pegs in round holes and force them to do things they don't want to do. As much as I can, I like to put people in positions that they want to do. Because God gifts us in different ways, and I just think it's good to put people in the areas where they're gifted. I know what God has called me to do. He's called me to preach. And so when a nursing home down the street asks me if I can preach, if I can make it, then I do it. Now there's other things that people ask me to do sometimes. And sometimes my schedule allows, sometimes it doesn't. But if it's not preaching, if it's not something that's directly associated with the gospel, I don't have that hard of a time saying no. And sometimes that's the hardest word to say is no. Well, Max Lucado, I want to share some thoughts that he shares in Glory Days. And I want to share this verse, a really cool one from Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. Whatever you do in word or deed, so whatever you say or whatever you do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. So whatever you're doing, you're sweeping the floor, do it for Jesus. I remember digging a ditch in Tlaxiaco, Oaxaca, Mexico. And I just knew that I didn't even know what the ditch was for, but I knew it was for the mission. And so I'm just like digging a ditch for Jesus. I couldn't have been happier. That was summer 1979. Whatever you do it for the glory of God. So for 20 years, Max Lucado was the senior pastor of the church. Sometimes people ask me what my role is. And some people will announce, they'll say, you're the senior pastor, you're the lead pastor. Well, I'm actually the only pastor here, so I'm really good with pastor. It doesn't need to be more than that. Then I'm not really into titles. But I appreciate Max, and he's kind of the same way. And he said that for those 20 years, he was in the thick of it. He was so involved with all these different things in the church because he's the senior pastor. And the church grew, and then they've got more people on the team. And that meant more people that he was going to have to manage and more people that he was going to have to direct and do all this different stuff with. And you know what he said? He gradually was becoming grumpy. Why? Because what he really enjoyed doing was teaching and preaching and writing and looking forward to the next series. And I understand some of that because that's more my sweet spot. Like taxes and insurance, things like that. I've read the New Testament. Jesus didn't deal very much with that, except the one time he sent Peter to get the fish. But I don't know if the paperwork was in the fish's mouth. Anyway, that's beside the point. Well, Max was really blessed. They had options. And eventually, he became the teaching pastor, the teaching minister, okay? So he's not the lead pastor of the church anymore. And so when that happened, there were some people that were like, so Max, don't you miss being the senior pastor here? Translated, hey, weren't you demoted? Or are you making as much money as you were before? What's going on here? And he said earlier in his life, he might have felt that way. But he doesn't now, because he's come to see that promotion is not about moving up a ladder. It's about finding your sweet spot. It's about finding the thing that you're supposed to do. Don't let someone promote you out of your call. That happens to some people. We call it the Peter principle too. Not sure why it gets blamed on Peter. But that's where people are promoted to their level of incompetence. Right? You just keep moving. Well, that's the goal. It's the American dream. Just keep moving up the ladder. No, sometimes you should move sideways on the ladder. Move into a position that you really love to do. Look for a way to align what you do with your life with your gifts, talents, and skills. You'll be a much happier person. Max goes on to say, some people are really good at playing the tuba, but they wouldn't be good at directing an orchestra. I can't do either. But here's the thing. If you can't direct the orchestra, just play the tuba like nobody's business to the glory of God. Have a great day.